Welcome back to Starting Nine.
Oh!
Episode 206 and a half. It is the Game 4 of the World Series reaction pod. And holy shit, do we have a game to react to. I don't think I have any takes to really walk back, but I would like to acknowledge that in the middle of this game, I was like, this fucking series is boring. This game is boring. We haven't had any moments. And then immediately after that tweet goes out, we got fucking lead changes. We got drama. We got pitching changes. We got walk-offs. We got a lot to talk about. Dallas. Brian Wilson joined us on the stream tonight. Shout out to Weeze for dropping by again. It was the second time. He said he'll be back tomorrow. So we'll have Brian Wilson for Game 5 on the stream. Starting Nine, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, the whole deal. We'll be there for the whole game as we are with every game, and then bringing you a live podcast reaction after every game. So tonight, you had a bullpen game from the Tampa Bay Rays, which I don't even really think that we can call it that now that we know that, because we at this point last night when we were recording the reaction to Game 3, we did not know that Ryan Yarbrough was going to be named the starter. I thought that they were going to go with an opener for an inning maybe and then go to Yarbrough for like 3 or 4. Ryan Yarbrough is the starter. So that was what that was. And then you're going up against a Dodger team that, fair to say, even with the 2-1 lead, do you think that they smelled blood in the water? Do you think that the Dodgers were like, we got this. We just got to play it out?
Absolutely. They felt like that their offense, and I felt that same way, and I still do, because I don't want to call it fluky, but the error at the end of the ball game here is why we're talking about this being the game it is, and obviously we'll get into the things that led up to this point, but otherwise, you almost feel like the Dodgers are still, I don't want to say in the driver's seat, but they still like their depth. But after tomorrow, things are going to reset, and there's going to be a day off, and then it's going to really get interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I it's just crazy, man, because these are the things, the little things that happen in the games that make you think this can't possibly be happening. Is this how the shift occurs? Is this what happened? It's those little moments like that happened at the beginning, or like happened at the end. But to the point about the bullpen game, and this going to be a bullpen game, you run Yarbrough out there, and that's why I was like, yo, give me 5, and that's amazing. 5 and 2, that's super sexy. It wasn't that. It was, 3 1/3 and 2. But it was going to be a bullpen game, knowing that you weren't going to let him get out there in deep water. You were going to start going to the horses, and then it was Thompson, Fairbanks, and Castillo. So the Rays, they knew what they were going to do, and for the most part, they executed. Luke, not so much, but hey, he got cashed in, right?
Yeah, he did.
So he got cashed in.
2 Ernies. Still gets credit for the hold, though.
Yeah, gets credit for the hold. But but for the most part, what happened is the Dodgers just let the Rays hang around.
And hang around they did. This was a game that when it was 4-2, when this ball game was 4-2, that's when I said the series is 2-1, but it feels like this is a clincher for the Dodgers. The score is 4-2. It feels like it's 11-2. Like the Dodgers just had a stranglehold on everything. It felt like they were in control of the game. It felt like they were in control of the series. And then shit just goes haywire. You have a shout out to Justin Turner, by the way. I don't want his night to get lost in the excitement that was the Rays' comeback and eventual walk-off. Turner went 4 for 5, scored 2 runs, drove in a run with the homer in the first inning, back-to-back games with a homer. So the Dodgers were in the driver's seat of this game early because they just kind of went for the throat again as they did in Game 3. Corey Seager with the home run in the 3rd inning. But then our guy, your guy, go buy the shirt, store.barstoolsports.com, Randy Arozarena with the homer in the bottom of the 4th inning. That was when it was his 9th home run of the postseason. That means that he has homered more than any player in baseball history in a single postseason with his 9 homers. He passes Corey Seager, who homered in the inning before him.
Jockeying back and forth. That right there. That's why when you said, coming into this game, what's interesting with storylines, So Rosarena, Corey Seager, back and forth. They are literally. I mean, it's obviously not the McGuire Sosa
No,
98, but it is pretty fun to watch these guys trade blows back to back, knowing that what you're seeing, I mean, as of 2 games ago, was a historical postseason performance by both these dudes, and it's only going to get better.
Yep. So you have a Rosarena with 9 homers to pass Seager, who homered the inning before him, Barry Bonds, and then Carlos Beltran. In that, I think it was 2004 that he did that, and then Bonds was in 02 when they went to the World Series that year and lost to the Angels. Max Muncy knocks in a run. Now it's 3-1. Hunter Renfroe, though, this homer was it got the Rays back in it. It didn't tie the game. It didn't give them the lead, but it was a 450-foot bomb that sort of put some wind back in the sails of the Rays. Because you don't want what the last thing that Tampa Bay needed was the Dodgers to just death by 1,000 paper cuts, where it's just a run here, a run there, a run here, a run there, and then next thing you know, it's the 6th inning and you're down 7-1. Like, that's what you can't have. So there was no big inning for LA, but when Hunter Renfroe hit that home run, did you get the sense that we're going to have a dogfight tonight? Or was that still, all right, it's a solo homer. Yeah, it was a bomb, but it didn't tie the game. It's you still have the Dodgers have a relentless lineup. Like, what was your mind at after the Renfroe home run in the 5th?
Well, it still reminds you that there's guys that are in that lineup that can still come up and do damage. They can still run into one, and they can still do what the Rays have done, frankly, for the majority of the season, hit the long ball, keep themselves in the ball game. So Hunter Renfroe comes up and does exactly that. You move on. Who's now in the mix again when they start their next rally? Choi and a Rosarena.
You love Choi.
What's that?
You love Choi.
Love Choi. But Rosarena gets it going again with a knock, and then Choi comes up off the bench, pinch hit, walk, and then Brandon Loud Noise.
Well, before that even happened, though, so in the 6th inning, that's when Kike Hernandez doubled. So that makes it 4-2, and that's when I threw the tweet out there. Because the way that Kike was celebrating and the Dodgers dugout was going nuts, like, I was like, that almost feels like a walk-off right there. Like, just like, I know it's a 4-2 ball game, but it just feels so much bigger. And you see the emotion on Kike Hernandez's face when he's going up the first baseline, the bat toss, he's screaming. That felt to me, I was like, all right, the Dodgers are not going to let off the gas here, and this is going to be a tough uphill battle if the Rays are going to get back in this game, never mind the series.
Well, and that's why you start to think about who's going to be rolling out of that Rays bullpen. Who is going to be coming out and who is going to be putting that fire out? Who's going to keep things where they're at? And I mean, it wasn't a clean ride by any means. I mean, the majority of the guys that came in for the Rays either gave up runs themselves or were cashed in, left the game in iffy spots. So, I mean, credit to the Rays offense for continuing to punch back.
They did do that.
That's what I honestly believe. Like,
yeah.
if Lau's not able to take advantage of Pedro Baez, then where are we at right there?
Yeah, human rain delay, Pedro Baez. And then, as you mentioned, the 6th inning rolls around, and the X Factor comes to the plate, bottom of the 6th inning. It's a 4-2 ball game, and Lau has had his struggles. We can say that. It's a fact. He's had his struggles, not just in the postseason as a whole. He was outstanding during the regular season. He had the 2-homer game in game two, and then he comes up, hits the bomb. It is a 3-run shot. It gives Tampa the lead. It's 5-4. And we know at this point, because it was such a back and forth, we're exchanging blows. It's haymakers versus haymakers. I asked you and Brian, I was like, does this score hold up? A resounding no fucking chance. No fucking chance that's going to be what happens here. The very next inning, Jock Peterson. That was the guy we talked about who are going to be our X factors.
Your guy.
For game 4.
Jock Peterson. And we clarified that you said he's going to come up and get a big hit, correct?
I said a big hit. I said this is a guy that we've seen what Bellinger can do. We've seen what Turner can do. We've seen what Mookie can do. If the Dodgers are going to snuff out the Tampa Bay Rays, we're going to need some other guys to carry the freight here. Enter Jock Peterson. 7th inning, we got 2 guys on in scoring position. Jock Peterson with a knock to right field, drives in a pair. So now the Doyers have taken the lead back. Momentum switches right back into LA's dugout. Jock Peterson is the guy that's driving in the pair of runs. So momentum is right back in the Dodgers dugout. But again, I ask you guys, hey, you think this lead's going to hold up? I think Dallas was on a rally flight. Brian Wilson steps in with his take. Fuck no. I think he correctly predicted it. I think when I asked him after the Jock Peterson base hit to drive in 2, it's 6-5 Dodgers. I said, Wheeze, is this the final score? And he said, I think we're going to get 2 more lead changes. Okay, bottom half of the inning. Kevin Kiermaier comes up. Bomb. A deep fly to right field. Homer. Now it's 6-6. When it's 6-6 after the Kiermaier home run, are you still thinking, hey, nice effort, Tampa. You're making this an exciting baseball game. We love the excitement, but the knockout punch in this trade back and forth is still going to come from the Dodgers. Where were you at after the Kiermaier homer to make it 6-6?
Still thinking that this is going to be the Dodgers game. Still thinking that because at that point, I'm starting to think about where Jansen is going to be deployed, and I'm starting to think, all right, if they're thinking about him late in the ball game, then they're comfortable with what's going to be rolled out before him. And unfortunately, that's where things went wrong.
Things did go wrong. That was I was somewhere in the middle after the Kiermaier homer. I wasn't with you thinking that this is still the Dodgers game. I wasn't in the camp of, all right, now that the Rays have some momentum going after the game tying homer. I was kind of just like, honestly, this feels like that game in 2017 with the Astros and Dodgers where it was just back-to-back homers, lead changes, and it was just a wild game. I think it was game 3, maybe I want to say, in Houston. It might have been game 4, one of those games, the middle games of that World Series. I was like, I don't fucking know. All I know is that we're going to see some wild shit, and we're going to keep seeing lead changes back and forth after the Kiermaier home run in the bottom of the 7th. Then we go to the 8th. Corey Seager, a bleeder. Shout out to Luis Gonzalez. We threw out the shout out to Luis Gonzalez, 2-time starting 9 guest. It was almost an exact blueprint of the 2001 World Series, Game 7. Luis Gonzalez with a bleeder off of Mariano Rivera to walk off the Yankees, effectively ending their dynasty. The D-backs World Series champs. In this game, it was Corey Seager doing the exact same thing, bleeder into shallow left center, driving in a run. Now it is 7-6 Dodgers. We throw out the question again, is this the final score? Do we think that this is it? Is this going to be the nail in the Rays' coffin? Because if the Dodgers go up 3-1 and they've got Clayton Kershaw on the mound to close it out, that's not a spot you want to be in if you're the Tampa Bay Rays.
Poetic.
It would be poetic. It would be to have Clayton Kershaw being afforded the opportunity of closing out a World Series clincher for the Dodgers, being on the mound, having his chance to get the monkey off his back. It will not be a David Price story. You will not have Clayton Kershaw on the mound pitching in a clinching game. At least as a starter, you won't have that. So we get to the bottom of the 9th. Rays are down a run. And Kenley Jansen comes out of the bullpen. I ask you the question, Dallas. Are we going to see a clean inning from Kenley Jansen? I asked you, is he going to blow this game? You did not think Kenley Jansen was going to have a clean inning. And that was before he even threw a pitch. First pitch that he throws, 89. And to his credit, I mean, like when I saw the first pitch was 89, I was like, oh shit, I threw out a tweet. I was like, hey, Dodger fans, buckle the fuck up. We don't have 94 Kenley tonight. He later got there. He wasn't sitting there, though. He did hit 94 in the inning, but he was kind of in between 89 and 92. The cutter was working a little bit when he had lefties. He was running the cutter in there, but this was not vintage Kenley that we saw a few games ago when he came out of the bullpen. It wasn't a save situation, but he comes out of the bullpen. It was nails, and he had that "fuck you" attitude on the mound. No smile after closing out the game. This was not the same Kenley Jansen. So now, I mean, there's not a lot of baseball left in the series anyway, but we don't know what kind of Kenley Jansen we're going to get on a night-to-night basis. We just know that now. Like, we are trained as baseball fans, observers, that there's not enough time left for Kenley Jansen to get on a run of, okay, he's back. Now we can trust Kenley moving forward. You cannot trust Kenley Jansen moving forward in the 9th inning if it's a save situation. Fact, Dallas, or fiction?
I mean, it's tough because, like I said, the final play of this is Kenley kind of becomes a victim of circumstance there with the error out in center field. But obviously, the things that led up to that can allow you to take pause and say, you know what? I don't know. I don't know. Because, I mean, he was one strike away. One strike away.
Mm-hmm.
And
but he shouldn't have been.
No. And that's something I would like to get into. That's the point that I would like to make, and the point that I would like to get into, because there's an individual that absolutely needs to be celebrated, and that is a guy with quite possibly the best laugh in Major League Baseball history, Brett Phillips.
I'm glad that you mentioned the laugh thing too.
He hasn't seen live pitching.
10 days.
God knows how long.
10 days.
He's up in the biggest spot of the game. No doubt the biggest day be of his life. And he gets fucked hard twice.
Should have been 3-0. It was 1-2.
One that is down and in, one that is down and away. And he gets strikes called on both of those. The best part about it, though, is the fact that he was able to pay attention to the second cutter that's called the strike on the inside part of the plate. And he, instead of getting pissed off about it, he just logs that to memory. Okay, that's fine. He widens his zone just a touch. And because he does that, that ball down and away gets called a strike as well. So that sort of reinforces him having to expand his zone a little. So now he's thinking, all right, if I get that cutter in again, I'm already looking in here. And I know if it starts out anywhere near where those other two did, I'm going to get there. And he got enough to it. He got there, and he comes up with his biggest knock ever. His first postseason knock as well. Hell of a time. Game 4 of the World Series, game-winning fucking knock.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned the laugh thing, because I remember it was either 16 or 17. It was when I first started covering all of baseball for Barstool instead of just the Red Sox. And I remember blogging the video about the laugh, and I was like, it's funny. It's a funny video. I just hope that his career doesn't become, he's just like the funny laugh guy. You know what I mean? And then he was with the Brewers, and then he's on this team as a defensive replacement. And then he finds himself in the biggest spot, not just in this game, but in this series so far, because you get Kenley in there, and it's a 1-run ball game. There's a runner on first, and Randy Arozarena is at the plate. And a lot of people are like, okay, this is the game. If it's not Randy, it's nobody, because now G-Man Choi was lifted from the game. It should have been his spot in the lineup. He was lifted for Brett Phillips at first base a couple innings prior as a pinch runner.
Second. I thought it was second. Was he at second?
Yeah, he might have been at second. Yeah. So, he was the lead runner. So Brett Phillips enters the game as a pinch runner for Choi a couple innings prior.
With a walk.
Yeah.
Choi.
So then you have Randy Arozarena. Randy Arozarena is at the plate with a man on first in a 1-run ball game, and there are 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th of the World Series. It's what everyone, when you're playing wiffle ball in the backyard, it's the exact scenario that you dream up and you talk about in your head, and you have the fake broadcasters when you're playing your best friend across the street, and he draws a walk. And at that point, you can see the facial expression of Arozarena when he walks. He doesn't want, to me, I read it as fuck, because pitched to me, because Kenley, when he was missing, he was missing bad. It wasn't like he was trying to nibble the corners, when he was missing way up, he was missing way out. So the pitches that he was missing to Arozarena were not competitive pitches. And that's got to be frustrating when you know that you're the best offensive player on your team. The game is on the line. And if you can barrel one here, we're tying up the World Series. And you don't get, first of all, the first pitch was middle, right down the dick. 92. So it's not like he didn't come to him.
Is that what it was? 92?
First pitch heater, fucking right down the dick, middle, and he watches that one. There was another pitch later in the AB, 2 or 3 pitches later, he fouls it off. That was another one that should have gotten barreled and gone places. But eventually he works the walk. Now we got 2 runners on for Brett Phillips, who, again, he's a defensive guy that's on this team to enter the game in spots like he did, pinch runner, defensive replacement late. He's not supposed to be the guy that's at the plate with the game on the line. Yet here he is at the plate with 2 guys on, with the game on the line. Dodgers closer, Kenley Jansen, is in the game. What the fuck's going to happen? And then not only that, that's enough narrative as it is. But then you mix in what we just discussed. The count should have been 3-0 to Brett Phillips. It was 1-2. Home plate umpire fucked up 2 different calls in that one at bat. So now it's 1-2. Dallas talks about the adjustments that Brett Phillips has to make there, and he makes them. It wasn't like a cheap ass hit. He got an honest, like if that was breaking up a perfect game, you wouldn't be like, what a cheap ass fucking hit. It was a legit knock, and it drives in. Through the shift, drives in the game tying run. Arozarena comes all the way around from first base, falls on his face, coming from third to home, gets back up. There's an error in center field. Like, you got Pollock out there. He's an excellent defender. He fucks up with the error in center field. And then you have Randy Arozarena swimming the rest of the way to home plate. Tampa Bay Rays win Game 4. The World Series is tied 2 games apiece, Dallas. 2 up.
Incredible. Kenley Jansen is now 4th on the all-time list, I believe. Most blown saves in postseason history. It's tied with 5 or 6 other guys. I think I just saw that, but
Chris Taylor in center. I'm sorry. I thought it was Pollock. It was Chris Taylor.
Yeah, no, it was Chris Taylor. And that's what's tough about that entire play is if you break that entire play down from start to finish, all right, it's the single, and then it's Chris Taylor, head up, not fielding it cleanly, making the throw to the cutoff man. And if you want to get picky from Muncy, sure, the throw is maybe up the first baseline, and Smitty has to go to his backside to try to catch it like this and then swoop around, which is why he kind of does that swipe. Otherwise, if it's even center line or over, he's able to catch it here. But Smith also, if you watch his feet, he's making sure that he's not blocking that lane as well. So the problem is, he doesn't look that ball in all the way at the end. And that ultimately, in my opinion, is what cost them. Because if you want to boil it all down, Arozarena was doing the fucking butterfly down the third baseline. Like, he would have been out. He would have been done. But the throw never got caught. That's what allowed Randy to fucking dig like a mole all the way home and score and win the ball game.
Yeah. And now we're tied. And not only are we tied, Dallas, not only are we tied in this World Series, but Game 5, we got a rematch. We got a fucking rematch. Clayton Kershaw, redemption time. I agree with you. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that.
No doubt about it. And we're talking about, it's funny that we talk about pitches in the end of the ball game here that, in my opinion, did affect the outcome and forced BP, Brett Phillips, to just say, you know what? Let me just turn into that hitter I can be. Let me cover this zone that's gotten a little girthy on me here. Let me do my job. He can do that. Glasnow didn't get the love on the changeup. The pitch that he was trying to utilize, the pitch that I said, if you give that monster that kind of confidence in that game right there with his third best pitch, You don't know. That could be the moment. Those could be the outings where you see that beast click, where Frankenstein just fucking, and now he just starts to shove it up everybody's ass with his third best pitch. So look for him. Look for that to be a thing. Does he get away from trying to mix that back in? What is the mindset there?
Oh man, Dallas, I don't know. I don't know if I have enough body lubricant for
Oh yeah.
game 5 on Sunday. I don't know. He was throwing in the bullpen in the ninth inning. He was prepared to come into this game 4 because it was a must win. It was a must win for the Tampa Bay Rays. And he was warming, as was Blake Snell. Double-barreled action. Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow were both getting hot, preparing to come into this game. Fortunately for Tampa Bay, they didn't need either of them. So you will get Clayton Kershaw versus Tyler Glasnow in Game 5 of this World Series, with 2 games going to each team to this point. So let's talk about.
Does Tyler Glasnow throw 100 pitches again, Jared? Does Tyler Glasnow throw 100 pitches?
No.
That's what I want to know. No.
I think he cracks 90. I think he comes out at 93. I think it's going to be like one of those Morton starts where, yeah, I think he throws 93 pitches. I don't think it's going to be like a quick hook. I don't think it's going to be a short outing. I think it's going to be one of those like confidence builder type things where you take the 6 innings and it's like, all right, he completed 6. He's at 93 pitches. Could we bring him back out for the 7th? Yes. Would it be wise to take him out and let him be happy about let the build up the confidence again for the 6 innings in whatever 1-2 runs, hopefully, and have him feel good about that, because we might need to have him come out in short rest in Game 7 if there is a Game 7, something like that. I would say there's a better chance of that than run him back out there. 7 innings, like let's have him start the 7th, and we'll try and fucking jack up the pitch total, and especially after coming off a career high in pitches. 112 pitches his last time out there. So I don't think that the odds are very likely that we see Glasnow hit 100 pitches in Game 5.
So this is when I said I'm not sure how much confidence I have in Glasnow tomorrow. That plays a role in it. Is he's going to have to clean it up. Going to have to clean up the extended ABs, the pitch count, the walks. That's got to get tightened up.
So, well, he needs to give them innings. Like,
well, that's why I asked. That's why I specifically asked you, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole because we can spend all day on it. But that's why I asked you specifically with the pitch count and not about innings or anything like that, because
the Rays used 7 pitchers in Game 4 tonight.
Because those 90 pitches could look, those could be
4 innings.
Different. Completely different.
I'm with you. So now we need to shift. I mean, we talked about Tyler Glasnow. We need to talk about the other guy, Clayton Kershaw. Sure. So I want to ask you this before we kind of like break down what we think Kershaw is going to do. Is there any effort that a guy like Kershaw can give in Game 5? Let's say the Dodgers close this thing out in 6, and you don't see Kershaw in Game 6 because he just pitched in Game 5. Even with they'd have a day off. Yeah, they'd have a day off. So yeah.
I'm telling you right now.
So maybe you do see me
a quality start from Clayton Kershaw. Like what more? What more would you want from Clayton Kershaw? Like, are you?
No. I'm not. That's not where I was going with that. I was going to say, is there anything Kershaw can do in Game 5 that would give him the MVP over a guy like, let's say, Justin Turner, who's been out of his fucking mind?
I mean,
like a little update on what Turner's been doing after a 4 for 5. Justin Turner in this World Series is hitting .444 with a 1474 OPS. And Corey Seager, by the way, Seager also went 4 for 5.
So are you ready to
3 runs scored? Corey Seager is hitting 500
7
with
for
a
14, right?
500 with a 1560 OPS. Is there anything Clayton Kershaw can do in Game 5 to get the World Series MVP over one of those two dudes?
I'm going to say no. And are you ready to? I'm just going to ask you now. Are you ready to respect me telling you that Justin Turner is a viable MVP option?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I was on that bandwagon.
No. You were telling me that it was not Justin Turner. That's why I asked.
You were saying it like Game 2. Now it's undeniable. Now it's undeniable.
Well, that's fine. But I was. That's the whole point of me asking you that. Is I'm saying it. Then you.
Now it's undeniable.
Now I'm asking you, and now it's okay. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. But we were also blowing Mookie after Game 1. So yeah, like it's now down to Turner and Seager. I don't think that Mookie is in the conversation.
Yeah, unless Kershaw, and I still don't think
Mookie with an 0 for 5, by the way. So he's hitting 235 with a 728 OPS in the series. So he has effectively removed himself from the MVP conversation.
Yeah, CG 12 punchy for Kershaw. CG shut piece 12 punchy for Kersh.
Yeah.
And I still don't know that he's getting. I still don't know that.
Then you'd have to go Co. Like if Seager fucking hits 500 for the World Series and Kershaw has 2 wins and one of them is a CG shut piece, that's a Co World Series MVP if I've ever seen
one. Unless the Game 6 decider is
a Seager walk-off.
Seager or Turner. Right,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Because they're also going to have the ability to perform for Kershaw. So
Yep.
while Kershaw's going 9 strong, 12 punchies for that co-MVP, Turner could very well go 3 for 4. Seager could go 2 for 4 with a jack, and we could go. But look at these guys are still hitting fucking 500. These guys are still raking. OPS is near 2,000 right now. Like, come on.
Yep.
And if they win in 6th, then yeah, that's absolutely a done deal.
It's a done deal.
Yeah.
Brandon Lau, after the game, said, quote, "I'm about to live 15 years shorter. My God, I think I lost 10 years on that last play. That's a storybook baseball game. That was insane." He's right. I mean, it's one for the ages.
And think about him, man. Hits that homer, puts his team up, and then finds himself in a position where he slips in the outfield and isn't able to put all of the glove on it, isn't able to make the catch. And he's probably thinking, did I just feel the game slip away? Did I literally fucking feel the game slip out of my glove?
Yep.
No, you didn't.
It was an all-timer. And I know that you understand this. People that I talk to, like if I talk to Kevin and Casey on CCK, and then they'll ask me, like, hey, what did you do to pass the time during the off season or during quarantine? And I said, I honestly watch full-length baseball games on YouTube. Like they have them on YouTube where they're the entire games. And they'd be like, you sit there and you watch games that already happened knowing how they ended and like what happened in them. I'm like, well, it's not just any old baseball game. There are certain baseball games that have rewatchability. And there are a few of them that happened within the last 5 years. So they're not like, you're not fucking watching them in standard definition. I would put this baseball game that happened tonight, Game 4 of the 2020 World Series, that will probably go on my list of rewatchable baseball games that I will put on my off-season list of games. If I'm missing baseball a little bit, sit down on the couch. Maybe I'll probably pull up the box score so that I can watch the action play. Like I'll probably put it on when it's like 4-2. Like that's when this game really hit the gas.
Well, that's what I was gonna say is, remember, before we let you go, remember this: baseball is theater in every sense of the word, and it unfolded today in acts and ended with a huge. It ended at the climax. Didn't even wait for the conclusion. The conclusion was the climax. We all climaxed at the conclusion. So
we did.
Strap in, because this thing is nowhere near from over.
It's not over. We got a tied World Series. All right, from the chat again. If you watch the streams during the games, after the games, Dallas and I, we record these post-game podcasts that we're dumping every morning for each and every World Series game, and we take questions from the chat after we're done. So, chat, fire off some questions, and while we're getting those questions going, let's pick our X factors for Game 5 of the 2020 World Series.
I mean, I have to stick with Kershaw.
Kershaw's your X factor. I feel like that can't be an X factor. It's got to be someone that it's like, oh, okay, all right, I see. Yeah.
Why? I mean, why can't it be Kershaw? Like it would just be another. Because from there I have to see what the lineup looks like.
Okay. I know who my X factor is for the Tampa Bay Rays.
I'm not saying that I'm spearheading the campaign for Kershaw to be left the fuck alone with the postseason bias, but I would really love for him to just be able to, how you wanted David Price to feel the way he can feel. Mm-hmm. That's how I want Clayton Kershaw to be able to feel. I want Clayton Kershaw to be able to walk into any room where there would ever be a naysayer because of what he's done in October and go, yeah, but you don't deserve all the love you get. Like, I want him to be able to grab that person by the throat and rip their larynx right out and watch them bleed to death. I want him to be able to do that. And that's what maybe that performance can do tomorrow.
Okay. My X factor for Game 5 for the Tampa Bay Rays, he was the X factor for the Tampa Bay Rays in Game 5 of the division series against the New York Yankees. I got Mike Brasso as my X factor to do something big for Tampa in Game 5 of the World Series. He's just a Game 5 guy at the end of the day. Game 5 is his game.
I'll say my guy would be Mike Zunino.
I like that pick. He's definitely had a flair from the dramatic, and whenever he's homered, he's made them count, and he's made them go pretty far in the process. And then for the Doyers, I got Chris Taylor doing something. You make that big error the night before.
He's got to make up for it, right?
You got to make up for it. So give me Chris Taylor as my Dodgers X factor in Game 5. So Chris Taylor for the Dodgers, and I got Mike Brasso for the Tampa Bay Rays.
And I'll go Smitty.
Willie, Big Willie style.
Yep. If as my 1A aside from Kershaw, I'm going with the backstops. I'm giving love to the backstops tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Let's take some questions. Last
now more than 80 pitches.
Yes.
I honestly think it's going to be if the Rays are down early and we're starting to entertain him creeping there, no. So like if the Rays are down 2-0 by the 4th and he's knocking on the door at 80 pitches, he's out of there.
Yep. This is from O'Shea, who always nails it with the questions. Do you think the Rays are being underestimated?
I don't think they're being underestimated by the Dodgers. Not at all. The only reason I could think that might be a thing is, are you saying, oh, what, are you cocky enough to leave Jansen for us until the 9th inning? I think it's quite the contrary. They acknowledge that they needed their guys to step up early in that ball game. They needed their guys in those leverage spots then. Didn't work out, but it was what it was. Maybe stuck with Baez a little longer than he'd like to. But as far as underestimating them, I don't think that the Dodgers are underestimating them.
Fair. I agree. Marlowe Jack. You talked about the Dodgers MVP if they win, but who would be the Rays MVP if they win? Would it be a Rosarena? I think it would have to be, right?
Probably. Absolutely.
I mean, you look up and down and it's like.
Is Kiermaier slowly making a case? No. No? Am I just hung up on the home run right now?
I don't think that you're hung up on the homer, but I mean, I think when you look at what a Rosarena has done, it's kind of just, it's trumped what everyone has done. I mean, Kiermaier's hitting 308 with an 1126 OPS, and then you got a Rosarena hitting 357 with the 1286, and then you're obviously not supposed to factor in things that were done in series before. But then when you do kind of look at like the whole picture of most home runs ever in a single postseason, if you're a voter, you're probably looking at that being like, that counts for something.
Yeah, so look, if you can factor that in, then you have to factor in Kiermaier's blue eyes, and that's
true fact. Big fact. We'll take a couple more before we get out of here. Is Dave Roberts on the hot seat if the Dodgers lose the World Series? I feel like we talk about that one every night. Like, I feel like this dude's job is evaluated on an hourly basis on the internet. I don't think it's a matter of if the Dodgers lose that Dave Roberts is on the hot seat. If Dave Roberts manages these next potentially 3 games poorly, then you could have the discussion. But again, this is a guy that's handpicked by the Dodgers front office. He does what they want him to do. I think he does a great job of managing the players. There's a lot of egos when you have a team with that type of payroll. You have multiple MVPs. You got guys with Cy Young awards. Either they have one or they're going to win one. When you're talking about Kershaw and Walker Buehler, I think Dave Roberts does an excellent job of managing the team in that regard. And we can have a discussion about like choices that, I mean, if you going to Kenley Jansen in the 9th inning, and it's like, how does he know that he doesn't have it? Well, he's been hit or miss all year. So that's one thing that you have to consider when you do have a guy like Blake Trinan and you have to deploy him earlier in the game. But do you go to Kenley Jansen in that spot that Blake Trinan pitched in? Because you can't bank on having a safe situation in the 9th inning. You're just going to.
That's him giving Kenley the respect of the 9th inning and not just giving that to Blake, because there's probably not a huge gap in difference in confidence between those two at this point, if I'm being real.
Yeah. And then Andy, kind of just a follow up on that. How do you guys feel about the managers in this series? I think if you don't have, I don't think that Dave Roberts or Kevin Cash has really been the narrative at the end of any of these games. I think if you're talking about how did manager X make decision Y, and that's the story at the end of the game, every single night, it's like we can talk about the managers and the decisions that they made, but those were never the lead story at the end of any of these games.
The only question you're going to have is about the Baez. Did he leave him in there too long? And I know people had questions about Cash leaving in Glasnow for 112 pitches or whatever it was. I explained the reason why that happened to you. And again, if you weren't here, it's because he was left in. They were behind. You're going to get the max that you can out of him. And that's what they did. So now we're here at game 6. You're going to have him lined up, ready to roll. Or excuse me, game 5. You're going to have him lined up, ready to roll. You're going to be good to go.
All right. Last one before we get out of here. Mateo, can you almost guarantee 7 games in this series? Do you have the balls, Dallas? Do you have the balls to say that your pick of Dodgers in 6 is incorrect and that it will in fact be Team X in 7?
Nope.
You don't have the balls.
Nope. Because the Dodgers are going to win the 2 most pivotal games. They won game 3, and they're going to win game 5.
Who has the balls here? I mean, I picked Dodgers in 7, so I mean, my balls were nice and big and round and rotund at the beginning of this series. So I'm sticking to Dodgers in 7. So Dallas does not have the balls. All right, thank you everyone for if you tuned in live to the podcast. We appreciate you hanging out, staying with us. It's 1:17 a.m. on the East Coast right now after Game 4. We appreciate if you guys watched the live stream during the game and hanging out for the podcast afterwards. We know it's late, but you guys love baseball as much as we do. So we're here to provide all the baseball content that you guys are in search of during this postseason. So thank you guys, and we will be back Sunday, Game 5, Kershaw, Glasnow, in a pivotal Game 5 because guess what, Dallas? The fucking World Series is tied 2-2 after Brett Phillips walks off Kenley Jansen and the Dodgers in Game 4.
We out.